Anxiety and mood swings, how to finally feel in control again. And if you are new to these, or if you don't already know who I am, my name is Dr. Angie Elliott. I am a chiropractor and certified functional medicine provider in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. And we are approaching our 16th anniversary of being in practice this year, which is super exciting. So for those of you that are with me today, if you can keep your cameras on, I love just to see faces and be able to feel like I'm talking to people instead of just a blank screen. So I really appreciate that. I'll be asking you to write things down today. So if you are willing or want to take in as much as possible, please grab a pen and paper or something to write notes with as we go along. So I have a lot to share with you today, and I'm going to try to get it within our hour time frame that we have together. But if we need to go over to finish some of the important stuff at the end, I invite you to stay with me, but understand if you need to hop off a little bit early. And then also towards the end, with all my master classes, I'm going to ask you to share your one thing of all the information I'm going to share for you today, of everything you're writing down. I want you to circle, highlight, star the one thing that you're going to take action on today, because it's really important that we take this information and then we then take that next step to do something with it. So, all right, let's dive in. First, our disclaimer. This webinar or this masterclass today, the information in this is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to be medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Content is based on research, my clinical experience, and other holistic wellness principles and should never replace your professional medical guidance. Always consult your physician or qualified medical professional before taking any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or health regimen, especially with underlying conditions or medications. Today, we're talking about anxiety. And if you are taking anxiety medications, again, this especially will apply to you. Your health is unique, and what works for one person may not work for another. So myself and other presenters are not responsible for any of your health outcomes. For any questions or concerns, please seek personalized advice from your licensed healthcare practitioner. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, let's dive into what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to start off with, have you ever had a moment where maybe you were fine at one point and then all of a sudden you're feeling angry about the dirty spoon that was left on the counter and your mood is just swinging from one side to the other? Anybody? Quick raise of hands. I think we've all been there. Maybe you were fine one moment and now you find yourself crying because your favorite shirt's dirty and you really wanted to wear it today. There are just days where sometimes we have those moments where we're feeling a little bit uneasy, feeling a little bit crazy sometimes. And that's what brings us together today. Women tend to suffer in silence for far too long. And unfortunately, when they seek help, conventional medicine rarely connects the dots. But you're not crazy. It is not just aging. Your body is sending you signals. It's trying to communicate with you. Your body's love language is communication. And we're going to talk today about how to decode those symptoms of communication and those signals that it's sending you so you can learn to understand what your body is asking of you, what it needs to heal. And it's time to support those symptoms rather than just suppress them. So we're going to cover some common root causes of stress, anxiety, and mood swings, how hormones, gut health, and lifestyle all play a role. And then we're going to end with a 5-step plan that you can take with you to take better control over your stress, anxiety, and mood. So,
Dr. Angie, did you want to share your screen?
I did it again. Thank you.
Welcome.
I tell you. All right. I did this last week. All right. Now, okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. Excellent. This is our disclaimer. That is very important for all our workshops. So I read it to you, but here it is in writing. All right. This is our summary, and as we move on, we're going to end with our 5-step action plan. But first, let's lighten the mood a little bit with just a fun little meme. I actually made this in Canva. I'm not very techie, so I'm pretty proud of myself that I actually made a meme, but I thought it was kind of relatable and goes a little bit with our scenario we just talked about. So, all right. Let's dive into the science of stress. Our stress response is hardwired into our operating system, or what we call our nerve system. Our nerve system, we're going to talk about this a lot today as we talk about stress first, and then we're going to go to anxiety and mood, and they're all going to wrap together. But our nerve system is composed of the brain, the spinal cord that runs down your back, and then the nerves that branch out from there and go all over your body. So when I say nerve system, that's what I'm talking about, are those kind of 3 parts that are all protected by the bones in our bodies. And I'm going to explain how this nerve system works, how your stress response works. But it can be helpful to understand that we are working off of a system, a stress response system that was optimal for our ancestors. It allowed them to survive, to hunt, and to live in the natural world that surrounded them. It was truly necessary for their survival and for ours and our health. So there's nothing wrong with it. It is not bad. It's very, very vital. It is very, very good. How often? It's often overstimulated and overused. That's what leads to the symptoms that you may be having today, that brought you here today. And that's because, it's not designed for our modern world that is so full of modern day unnatural stressors. Computers, blue light, artificial lights, air and water pollution, packed schedules, social isolation. We spend more time in front of computers than we do in front of people sometimes. This modern world and the stressors of it are not designed, our nerve system just isn't designed for them. And it often leads to a system of stress that becomes chronic. So let's dive into, understanding that, let's talk a little bit more about the stress response. And our stress response starts with a trigger. Your body encounters some sort of stress, whether it's acute, like someone surprises you, or you get an email and you're really frustrated by it. Or maybe it's chronic, and we're going to talk about blood sugar dysregulation or inflammation inside the body. Whether it's temporary or ongoing, this activates that natural survival response, that natural stress response system in your body. Then parts of your brain and body called the HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, 2 of those are in the brain. One of them sits over your kidneys, the adrenals. They initiate the actual stress response. So it starts in the nerve system and then incorporates the adrenal glands. This triggers cortisol production. That's often the stress hormone that we're really kind of comfortable with or we've heard about, as well as other stress hormones such as adrenaline. And then the autonomic nerve system, which is the part of the nerve system, the brain and the spinal cord, that control the automatic parts of your body. So autonomic, automatic. And the automatic parts of your body are things like heart rate, blood pressure, pulse, breath rate, digestion. This automatic part of your nerve system then responds through its 2 main branches. And we're going to talk a lot about these today, so which is why I keep going into this. We have our sympathetic side. This is your fight or flight side. And this is activated during stress. And then we have our parasympathetic side. This is the opposite. They're kind of yin and yang to each other. And the parasympathetic rest and digest is needed for healing and balance. This is an incredibly well-designed, incredibly intelligent system. However, we hijack it when we're under chronic stress. Chronic stress leaves us stuck in that overdrive that leads to hormone imbalances, mood swings, anxiety, physical burnout, just to name a few. An analogy that might help understand part of this, and when we understand it, we can take that understanding into a lot of other things. But an analogy I like to use is that your nerve system works like the gas and the brake pedal of your car. Your sympathetic system, if you can guess which pedal that might be, is your gas pedal. So it speeds up when you need to react to something quickly. Your parasympathetic is your brake pedal. It's your rest and digest. Let's slow down so you can recover, so you can sleep, so you can heal. And so we need equal access to both of those, ideally throughout our day. We're doing a little gas and then we do some brake, a little gas and then some brake. And many of us are stuck with that gas pedal pressed down all day, running on stress hormones. We can even get addicted to running on those stress hormones. And in our 5 steps near the end, we're going to talk about how to use that brake pedal more often so we can get your body into a rest and digest state. All right, so we've talked about stressors, acute and chronic stressors. So what exactly does that mean? What are stressors that might be coming your way? An analogy, I love analogies. So another analogy I want to share with you is that imagine you're going for a hike. It's nice outside. Maybe it's spring or summer, and you're carrying and you put on this heavy backpack and it's really heavy. And you're like, oh, what's in this thing? And your kid's filled it with rocks. And each rock represents a stressor: work, family, self-criticism, poor sleep, a bad diet, too much computer time. Over time, that weight drags you down. It's really hard to go on that hike that you planned. And many women don't realize they're carrying so much until they feel exhausted, anxious, and overwhelmed. So let's identify some of the rocks with using these lists here that you can take out of your backpack to feel a little bit lighter, a little bit calmer, and a little more in control. So we've got 2 lists here. We've got our internal stressors and our external stressors. Let's look first at the external stressors. This is not a complete list by any means, but it's a start to get the idea across to you of what external stressors might be. They're coming from the outside. It could be overworking, a poor diet, toxins, overscheduling, lack of sleep, medical drugs, prescription or non-prescription drugs, dehydration are just a few. If you have a moment, if you've got something coming to your mind of what might be an external stressor for you, I invite you to write that down. It's very helpful to know what rocks are in your backpack so we can start to figure out how we can take some of those out. Now, stressors come from the inside too. We have internal stressors such as negative thought patterns, perfectionism, comparison, shame, guilt, jealousy, anger, all those emotions that we feel. We want to feel them, but sometimes we get stuck in them. And then that creates a constant chronic stressor internally in our bodies. Unresolved trauma and emotional stressors that then get stored in the body. Hormonal imbalances, gut inflammation, food sensitivities, liver, mitochondrial issues, nutrient deficiencies and anemias, blood sugar regulation, chronic diseases, autoimmune diseases. This list, both of these lists could be really, really long. But I invite you to look at these lists and kind of identify what's coming up for you. You can write down some of the things that are really speaking to you, that are really sticking out to you. It doesn't have to be from this list. It could be something that just popped into your brain. And just write them down. Let's start to identify them first. And then once we've done that, I want to invite you to feel and take a moment and tie into your body and go, well, do I feel any of this stress physically in my body? Where do I hold tension? Do I hold tension in my shoulders, across the top? Do I hold tension in my neck? Do I hold tension in my face and in my head? Do I hold it in my lower back? We can hold this stress in our physical bodies, and that can really start to take a toll on us. But knowing and identifying where we hold it can actually help you start to gauge how well the tools that I'm going to share with you today are going to work for you. Because when we start to reduce that stress using some nerve system tools, you're going to start to notice less of that stress being held in your body, for example, in your shoulders. All right. Now let's shift gears into anxiety and mood swings. Anxiety and mood swings are often symptoms of deeper imbalances within the body. Some of the most common root causes that I work with in my functional medicine realm are going to be inflammation in the gut. A few weeks ago, we did a gut health masterclass and we dove into gut health, and 80 to 90% of the serotonin, which is our feel-good hormone, is made in the gut and sent up to the brain to be used. So poor gut health can absolutely tie to poor mood regulation and poor brain health. So blood sugar imbalances are extremely common, and blood sugar crashes can lead to that irritability, anxiety, those mood swings. It is estimated 80 to 90% of the population in the United States has some sort of blood sugar dysregulation, whether that is truly a diabetic diagnosis, a pre-diabetic diagnosis, something called insulin resistance, or your blood sugars aren't healthy, but they're just not diagnosable yet. That gray range is where a lot of people tend to hang out and they don't even know it, and it's creating some of the symptoms you're having. We're going to talk today about hormonal imbalances. High and low estrogen, believe it or not, can create anxiety and a whole host of other symptoms, as well as low progesterone and thyroid dysfunction. We're going to talk more about high cortisol and that chronic stress, because by the end, you're going to start to understand how that might be at the very, very root of all of this. Nutrient deficiencies, such as magnesium, B vitamins, omegas, and iron, zinc, are all critical for nerve system function. And then toxin overload and poor liver detox. We're going to dive into each of these a little bit deeper. All right, so let's start with the gut. This is a great place to start. And the gut and the brain, again, are deeply, deeply connected together. And what's going on in the brain is going to often be reflected by, or what's going on in the gut is often reflected by what's going on in the brain. When the gut's inflamed, that neurotransmitter production of GABA and serotonin is disrupted. That can lead to anxiety, mood swings, brain fog, anger, tantrums, if we're talking about children, tantrums that seem bigger than they should be, or tantrums they can't really get out of. All of this information applies to kids for the most part, as it does for adults. So this then also creates a further stress, which then impacts gut health and continues this negative feedback loop and this cycle that we often start to get stuck in. Some root causes can be processed foods, low fiber diets. We're aiming for 35 grams of fiber per day at a very bare minimum. And it's estimated the average adult's only getting 7 grams a day. That's a huge deficit. And it is pretty much impossible to have a healthy gut when we're not getting enough fiber to feed those good bacteria in the gut that are going to help make these neurotransmitters. High stress hijacks our gut. Eating in a rush, or while we're distracted, or while we're scrolling on our phones. Artificial dyes and food additives, processed foods. Pesticides such as glyphosate are major microbiome disruptors and are actually prohibited in other countries due to these known side effects. But unfortunately, they're heavily used in ours. Some common signs you can watch for are bloating, gas, any digestive upset types of symptoms, food sensitivities, you eat something and you directly respond to it, skin issues like allergy, eczema, excess dryness, joint pain anywhere in the body, and stiffness can be signs of a leaky gut. These are just a few of many, many symptoms that are possible. And I'm going to share some more tips on how to support the gut near the end. If this is something that really resonates with you and you want to know even more, we do have our masterclass on gut health located on our YouTube channel called Moody, Bloated, and Stuck. So feel free to also check that one out. All right, our next imbalance, our next core root can be blood sugar imbalances. This tends to be a major one, especially for women in their 40s. And next week, we're going to talk about perimenopause, and I'll go into that population in particular at that time. But fluctuating blood sugar levels, or when your blood sugar is on this roller coaster of peaks and valleys, and it's going up and down, this can create those anxiety moments, those irritability, those mood crashes due to the release of cortisol and adrenaline. When cortisol goes up, when blood sugar goes up, cortisol tends to follow it. If blood sugar goes down too much, the body goes, oh no, alert, alert. and it sends up cortisol to bring that blood sugar up, and then it skyrockets up. So we can easily get on this roller coaster that's creating inflammation then all over the body. Now, blood sugar roller coasters can often start with poor eating habits. They definitely start with stress too. So if we combine stress with poor eating habits, now we really get a roller coaster ride. And these poor eating habits can be consuming high carbohydrate, sugary foods that then recreate a very fast release of sugar into the body. This can be caused by snacking and snacking on those carby foods, eating too many of those carby foods, or if we're even skipping meals, and sometimes we're not eating enough and our blood sugars are going too low. When your blood sugars spike, it releases again that stress hormone of cortisol and adrenaline. We then start to experience physical symptoms, and then our cravings and energy crashes start to come. When you start to crave those sugar cravings, when you start to feel that afternoon energy dip that becomes so common, this is a sign that you've got some blood sugar dysregulation that needs some healing. Additional factors like insulin resistance or caffeine dependence can really intensify this cycle and make it much, much bigger and make your symptoms that much more severe as well. So some signs and symptoms to watch for when it comes to blood sugar imbalance can be feeling shaky in between meals, especially when you skip a meal. If you're feeling anxious and tired in between meals, if you're feeling weak or lightheaded in between meals, when you crave those sugars and carbs, especially usually in the afternoon, energy crashes in the afternoon that we've talked about, and then feeling hangry before meals, when you're irritable and you are a little grumpy when you need to eat. Those are all small signs that your body is trying to communicate to you to tell you what's going on. And now we're going to decode them and try to give your body what it needs, which is often going to be protein and fiber and less of those carbs and those sugars. So some of my favorite tips beyond reducing the amount of simple carbohydrates and sugars are eating fiber first. So one of the things that I do in our house is when we're making dinner, I might be snacking on a fiber type of meal. I might pull some sauerkraut out of the fridge. Maybe it's the vegetables that I'm cooking. I'm going for some veggies that can add fiber into my digestion so it can slow down the release of sugar that's getting released into the bloodstream. I move after my meal. This is obviously a little bit easier in the warmer months, but in the winter months, maybe it's cleaning the house, maybe it's folding the laundry, maybe it is playing with the kids and having a dance party in the living room. Whatever, to try to make it fun, try to make it enjoyable, and engage the whole family so everyone can benefit. And then my last tip I'll share with you today is try to never eat a sugar or a carb alone. So if you're having crackers, pair it with cheese or a nut butter. If you're having an apple, pair it with a nut butter. When you're choosing a piece of bread, put some butter on it and maybe some peanut butter. How can I take my carbohydrate, my bread, my pasta, my crackers, my sugary desserts, and then pair it with a protein, a fiber, or a fat to decrease and blunt the effects of those carbohydrates or those sugars entering into your bloodstream? That can make a world of difference to how you feel. All right, let's talk about hormones, and we're going to start with estrogen. Hormonal imbalances, especially estrogen dominance or high estrogen, or its opposite, low estrogen, can impact neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, leading to those mood swings, anxiety, and depression. Some root causes can be poor liver function, poor detoxification due to the liver being a bit sluggish or the gut being inflamed. Your gut has a lot to do with processing estrogen. High exposure to endocrine disruptors or toxins from plastics, plastic containers, if you have your foods in them, pesticides on our foods, the personal care products, such as the makeup that we put on our face or the lotion that we use. Anything that soaks into your skin goes into the gut, goes into the bloodstream. So when it comes to reducing toxins, we want to be mindful of what we're putting on our bodies as well as in our bodies. And then perimenopause and menopause can be a time of natural estrogen decline, or are a time of natural estrogen decline. And we're going to talk about that next week, about how we go through oftentimes of high estrogen and then low estrogen, and what roller coaster that might feel like, and how we can kind of dampen those effects. So some signs are heavy periods, PMS. Heavy periods are often related to high estrogen. A light flow, short cycles often go with low estrogen. So if you're having any of these symptoms, you can start to go, my hormones might be a little off. Maybe there's breast tenderness and fibroids. Maybe you're anxious around ovulation or right before your period. These are all telltale symptoms that that hormones might be playing an issue with your feelings and your symptoms. Progesterone is kind of the opposite of the opposite of estrogen. It's our calming effect. Estrogen gives us a lot of drive. Progesterone helps us calm down. It increases GABA, a neurotransmitter that helps reduce anxiety and again, produce that feeling of calm. If we don't have enough of it, then it makes sense that we're not going to feel very calm, that we're going to feel a little more irritable, anxious, and often have a hard time sleeping. Some root causes of low progesterone can be chronic stress. We're going to hear that in almost all of these slides. Perimenopause, where it naturally starts to decline into menopause, and then poor ovulation due to potentially PCOS or maybe a thyroid dysfunction. Some signs to watch for would be anxiety, especially before your period, insomnia or waking up between that 2 to 4 a.m. time period, and then shorter menstrual cycles or spotting in between your periods. This can be a sign that progesterone might be the hormone to look into. All right, and then thyroid, to round out our hormones that we're going to talk about today. Thyroid hormones are essential for brain function and mood regulation. Both a low hypothyroid or a high hyperthyroid function can trigger those anxiety, depression, and mood instability feelings. Some root causes are Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune thyroid disease that greatly seems to influence women far more often over men. And iodine and selenium deficiency, these are two minerals that our thyroid desperately needs to make the hormones that we need. And then high stress affects that thyroid conversion from its inactive form to its active form. So some signs to look for are fatigue that just lasts all day. It just doesn't go away. Brain fog, depression, or just a low mood and low motivation, and then weight gain that doesn't quite make sense no matter what you're trying. You've changed diet, you're exercising, but yet you still can't lose the weight, or you keep gaining the weight. The opposite of low thyroid is hyperthyroid or high thyroid. And this often gives us opposite symptoms of anxiety, heart palpitations, a restless type of feeling, and often rapid weight loss. If you believe your symptoms are the result of any of these hormone imbalances, I strongly urge you to reach out. Blood tests, a Dutch test are wonderful ways to pinpoint not only where your hormone levels are, but to then help us figure out why are they out of balance, and then where do we start? A thyroid panel that I use with functional medicine, a functional panel, has 9 markers that help me identify where do we need to support the thyroid. It might not be a problem in the thyroid, it might be in the liver, or it might be at the level of the cell far from the thyroid. But when you go to your medical doctor, they're often going to run 2 markers, a TSH and a T4. That might catch it, but for many women, they're left being told you're just fine and your tests look normal when they're really actually not, and you know something is wrong. They will miss, is there an autoimmune process going on? Is the problem in the liver or at the cell or in the level of the brain? And then we can use these functional tests to really find that and then make a strategic plan on how to help you feel better. So functional testing is very different than what your doctors will run. Doctors look at tests for diagnostic purposes to diagnose you with a disease process. Functional tests, just to be clear, are looking at function. Our interest isn't necessarily diagnosing anything. It's looking at how's the full set of thyroid hormones functioning, and where is it functioning well and where isn't it functioning well. So these are really different ways to look at the tests, and they often can include different markers than what a traditional medical office might offer. So, all right, let's talk neurotransmitters. We keep hinting at these, and we're going to talk about serotonin and dopamine. We've also been talking about GABA, and these will help regulate mood, motivation, and relaxation. Low levels can relate to your feelings of depression, anxiety, and a low resiliency to stress overall. Root causes, if you remember, are going to be poor gut health, low protein intake. If we don't have enough amino acids from our proteins to make our serotonin, to make our dopamine, then we have a nutrient deficiency. We don't have enough to make what our body is needing. And then chronic stress, that blood sugar roller coaster, all of these are going to deplete these neurotransmitters and then leave us feeling pretty awful. Some signs to look for low serotonin are worrying, overthinking, irritability, and cravings for sugar and carbs, potentially. Some low dopamine symptoms and signs can be low motivation, not depression, just low motivation, lack of fatigue, and lack of pleasures with daily activities. To focus on this, we're going to often focus on gut health. We're going to be tackling a lot of the things that we have talked about so far, from blood sugar regulation and then nerve system tools. All right, nutrient deficiencies. Nutrients that play a huge role in nerve system function and mood stability are magnesium. We need this for relaxation and stress resilience. Studies estimate it is now nearly impossible to get enough magnesium out of our diets due to the poor soil quality and the farming practices that we have. So I am often highly encouraging the people that I work with to supplement. It is one of my staple supplements that most people stay on if they want to continue feeling well. My favorite types of magnesium, there's 12 different types. My favorite types that I use most are magnesium glycinate and magnesium threonate. Optimeg Neuro from Zymogen Products is one of my favorites because it's a blend of these, and then it has some magnesium malate in there. A very common magnesium you will find over the counter at Target and Cub and whatnot is magnesium citrate. And magnesium citrate is only good if you have constipation. It's really good at pulling water into the gut because we don't absorb it very well, and then flushing out. So if you struggle with constipation, this is a wonderful natural way to support those symptoms. But if we're trying to use magnesium for a calming effect, then magnesium glycinate and threonate is a great way to go. Omega-3s will reduce inflammation and improve brain function. They can help you concentrate and focus. If you aren't eating 2 to 3 servings of deep sea fish, then we need to supplement this. One of my favorites is Monopure by Zymogen. It's very, very absorbable in comparison to others, and it's only 1 capsule. And I have yet to come across someone who burps up anything fishy from it. So I love that one. Some B vitamins. B vitamins support energy and neurotransmitter production. When we're under stress, we burn through our Bs relatively quickly, and that can leave us feeling really tired. It can be really helpful when it comes to approaching B vitamins from a supplement to understand, do I need what's called methylated B vitamins or non-methylated B vitamins? This is an absorbable form, a more absorbable form or a less absorbable form, and it has something to do with liver function. A common multivitamin that I often am recommending that has a great amount of B vitamins is from Seeking Health, and they have a multi-1 that is for methylated versions, and it's called multi-1, and then they have a multi-1 MF for non-methylated Bs. If you're not sure which one, I recommend you try the non-methylated first, just to see, do I see a nice boost in my energy or not? If you're taking methylated B vitamins and you don't need them, you can feel anxious, you can feel overstimulated, you can feel jittery, like you've had too much coffee. And methylated B vitamins have become very, very popular. They're in a lot of supplements now, but not everybody needs them. So it's important to understand kind of how you might feel if you don't need them. Some amino acids such as tryptophan are very important. They come from protein and they help make our neurotransmitters. And often for this one, I recommend optimizing digestion. It's often not a problem of getting enough protein in, although if you're vegetarian, it will be hard to get enough protein. So I do highly recommend eating animal protein to get your tryptophan in and a lot of other benefits to that. And then we've got to optimize your digestion. Many people struggle with breaking down their food and absorbing it, even when they're getting those nutrients in. So some other deficiencies might be zinc and iron, sometimes vitamin C as well. So when we are approaching nutrient deficiencies, it is really important first to ask yourself and look at some of these and go, am I getting those in my diet? And if I am, great. If not, okay, how do I supplement them and add them in? Because we want to use supplements to fill in the cracks of our diet, not be a standalone ideally. Then if I'm supplementing and getting them in, am I absorbing them? Far too many people, again, are not absorbing well. So you're taking it all in thinking it's helping you when it actually isn't. And Alicia can drop our Fullscript link in the chat feature. If anybody here today if I've piqued anybody's interest and they're wanting to look at what some of these supplements are. They are physician grade supplements, so they are not going to be available possibly, or the brands I'm recommending aren't going to be available in an everyday store type of setting. So. All right, and then liver health. We've got 2 more left, and then we're going to start shifting gears again. So liver health and toxin overload can come from the food we're eating, our beauty products, and the environment, our air and our water. This can very easily lead to hormonal imbalances, especially high estrogen, thyroid issues, inflammation, joint pain, brain fog. Exposures can be from plastics and pesticides. Mold is relatively common as well. This can be due to poor liver detoxification from nutrient deficiencies. B vitamins are extremely necessary for phase 2 detox of our liver. And if we're not getting enough or the right kinds, then our liver detoxification processes are a bit sluggish and they're not working very well. Gut issues will very much impair toxin elimination. We need to be pooping every single day. And in our gut health talk, we talked about poop and what it should look like and what a healthy poop looks like, because it's really important and it's something we all need to talk about. So some signs and symptoms that your liver might be struggling could be sensitivities to smells, perfumes, any artificial fragrances, skin breakouts, acne, eczema, really dry skin that doesn't seem appropriate for the season, unexplained fatigue, brain fog that just never goes away. It is crucial if you are approaching a detox. It is very common to see all these fun detox fads out there. Maybe it's something you make at home. Maybe it's a kit you buy. Maybe it's a spray that someone's claiming will solve all your problems. And maybe it will, but something that's really key to know is that it is very, very crucial to make sure your gut is healed and sealed, to make sure it's not inflamed and it is not leaky, because your liver is going to dump those toxins into the gut and then it's going to leave. And if those toxins go into a gut that's inflamed and leaky, instead of leaving your body, they now go into your bloodstream and they go all over the body. So what was a really well-meaning approach might turn into something that makes everything so much worse. So be careful of those fad cleanses and kits out there, and make sure that your gut is working properly, that you are pooping every day, you're sweating, you've got your drainage pathways open before you approach any detoxification. So, all right. And our last root cause is most likely the #1 root cause. And that's why I saved it for the end. Chronic stress, as we talked about in the beginning, is that gas pedal that overactivates the nerve system and leaves us stuck in that fight or flight mode. And then that gas pedal is stuck down and it's not working properly. This is going to deplete our progesterone, our serotonin, our dopamine, our GABA. It inflames our gut. It leads to a lot of our symptoms. It throws off our blood sugars. It can throw off the liver. It can throw off nutrient deficiencies. It can be the deepest root of all the other root causes that we've been talking about so far, which is why when we get to our 5-step plan really soon here, I bet you're going to be able to guess what step 1 is going to be. All right, and lastly, let's talk about kids. Most of our focus is on adults in some of these classes, but most of this information also applies to kids. And what we don't realize is that they sometimes need just as much help as we do. Supporting kids' developing brains through optimal nutrition ensures that they have the building blocks they need for that emotional resilience and that balanced mood. Kids are under a lot of stress, going to school, equally overscheduled. They're doing a lot of things and maybe they love it, but it's also stressful for them. Omega-3 fatty acids are critical to kids' brain development. And I highly recommend if kids aren't eating sardines and anchovies, that they supplement those fatty acids. Our cell walls need omega-3s to build, and they are building and developing rapidly. Their brain is expanding and growing, and literally growing in size, as well as making new neuron connections. Their bodies are growing, and they need a lot of support to do that well. And they need that through nutrients and omega-3s, a whole food diet, non-processed foods, eating the colors of the rainbow. Again, a lot of the things we've talked about are really important for our kiddos too. Focusing on their gut microbiome is really wonderful. Getting in our fiber and taking out some of those processed foods, and then using gentle calming techniques that might be age appropriate. One of the things I do with our kids sometimes, if they're having a day where they're a little more wound up at bedtime than usual, is I take a moment and we sit in the bed. And after we've read our books, if they're still a little bit kind of wound up, we have what we call a mindful moment. And we try to close our eyes if they're willing. And we ask them, what do you smell? And we tie into our senses. So what do you smell in the room? And then what do you feel? We're not going to use our sight because ideally we're closing our eyes. What do you feel around you? And what does it feel like? We're getting out of our head and into our bodies so we can start to sleep. This is really helpful in putting that brake pedal of the parasympathetic system on. And then what do you taste? If they just brush their teeth, they might taste the toothpaste and they can move their tongue around. Being in the present moment really helps them get out of their brain. Then we finish with 3 big belly breaths. Sometimes we'll put something on their belly, like a book, and I make them push it up with their belly. So they really focus on breathing out of the belly instead of the chest. And then we hop into bed and turn off the light. And this can often help them wind down if we aren't quite there yet. A book, if you have kids that struggle with anxiety, a book I highly cannot recommend enough, is amazing. It's called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And it provides evidence-based tools and really good insights on why anxiety is rising at alarming rates in our kids and in our teens, and then some ideas on what to do with it as well. So, all right, let's shift gears. And now that we've talked about all the root causes and all the things that could be wrong, let's shift gears into focusing on solutions. And we're going to talk about a 5-step approach that you can take with the information you've learned so far to start healing. And the key here is to not get overwhelmed. We're going to take small, consistent steps that will then create a big impact. So step 1, if you haven't guessed it yet, is balancing your nervous system. That fight or flight response, that gas pedal needs a stronger brake pedal. So one of the techniques might be a 4-7-8 breathing. You breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, and you breathe out for 8. Grounding can be really great. Grounding is when you go outside barefoot and you're in the grass or some natural kind of ground. Obviously a bit tricky in the winter months, but as soon as it starts to thaw, going outside and being barefoot is wonderful. You can invest in some grounding mats, grounding bed sheets. There's a lot of really great tools out there that you can do to mimic some of this in the colder months as well. And then vagus nerve stimulation. We talked a lot about this in the gut health class. And that helps to activate that brake pedal, that rest and digest pedal. So let's take a moment and we're going to do, and I'm going to show you 2 nerve system tools that you can do at home to stimulate your brake pedal, your parasympathetic side. And the first one, I'm going to pull my hair back a little bit, is if you turn your head a little bit, do you notice this muscle right here? It kind of goes diagonal. It's called the SCM and it pokes out a little bit. What we're going to do is ideally you can leave your head turned or straight to the side so you can watch me. We want to try to put the head over the shoulders so it's relaxed and not really poking out. And then I'm going to work on this side. So on the same side you're working on, this is my right side. I'm going to take my hands around my clavicle right here by my collarbone, and I'm going to gently push up a little bit. I'm just pushing into it. It shouldn't hurt. Nice and easy. And then with my left hand, or your opposite hand, I'm going to come along this muscle and I'm going to tap it. I'm just gently going up and down and just tapping. This is going to activate what we call the spinal accessory nerve. This is really, really helpful if you are someone who carries your stress in your shoulders and you find yourself activating your shoulders and you don't even realize it. And we're going to help drop those shoulders down. So just keep tapping up and down, up and down. And you can do this for 30 seconds roughly. And then when we're done, we just take a breath in and a long exhale out. Just let that tool soak into the nerve system and bring up and strengthen that brake pedal. Then you can repeat it on the other side. Another one we can do, I'm going to take my glasses off so I can show you this one better, is we're going to tap around the head. So I'm going to come on my right side, my right ear, and with my left hand, I'm going to come under, right behind my jaw, into that little divot there, and I'm gently going to push in and down. Now this can be a tender spot, so if it hurts, back off. It's really, really gentle. You're barely pushing, and you're just kind of anchoring your hand there. Then I'm going to take my right hand and I'm going to tap around my ear to my temple and then over my eye. And then back around my ear to my temple and over my eye. Around my ear to my temple, over my eye. Around my ear to my temple, over the eye. We're going to keep doing that one more time. Around to the temple and over. Then we take our deep breath in and we breathe out and we just let that settle in. That often is a vagus nerve stimulator. It helps to strengthen that brake pedal, and then we do it on the other side. If you find you do it on one side and you really like it, and the other side you're like, oh, I feel a little stressed doing that. That might be too much for that side. So then you can just do it on the side that really felt good. So those are 2 techniques that you can take with you. You can do at any point in time, but it's especially helpful before bed when we're trying to calm ourselves down to sleep. So, all right. Some more tools to balance and nourish your nerve system are unplugging and getting outside. Limiting screen time as much as possible and spending and swapping that for time outside in nature, bird songs, breeze, all things natural will really strengthen that side. That deep belly breathing, box breathing are really great ways. Activating your vagus nerve by humming. When we vibrate our vocal cords or our tongue, we will catch the vagus nerve that goes right behind it. And we can help to stimulate it and make it stronger. When we're doing breathing techniques, a great thing to keep in mind is that exhale is longer than the inhale. There's something called heart math coherence. This is a breathing technique amongst other guided techniques that they have. I will become a certified heart math provider very soon. I love their work. They have amazing amounts of research on how their breathing techniques in particular and their guided techniques have reduced anxiety and improved mood. I believe it's by 47%. I should have written that percentage down, but it's really impressive. It's Heart Math, MATH. So you can check out their website, and they have a free app that you can use at home. And when you're breathing, it tracks something called HRV, heart rate variability. This is a way to track your autonomic nerve system. It's brilliant. I get to measure my nerve system and how it's responding to my breathing. So for those that love data like I do, I get to see what's happening inside my body on the screen of my phone. It's really cool. So another one of my favorites is called Emotional Freedom Technique, or EFT tapping. This is a technique that taps on acupuncture points or acupressure meridian points. And we go through, and you go through some of the emotions that you might be feeling. And while you're doing it, you start tapping on different parts of the face and of the body. There is an app called the Tapping Solution. They have a lot of free tapping videos. They explain tapping in far more detail. It might look funny, it might look hokey, but it's really effective. And they have some really impressive stats too for improving mood. They have a book called The Tapping Solution. There's a large worldwide summit coming up starting next Monday, February 28th. That's going to have a lot of speakers as well. So a quick Google search is going to bring that up. One of my good friends, Julie Jackie, has a Facebook page, and she helps women with tapping, and she is a certified EFT tapping practitioner as well. So there's lots of really great resources to dive into that one. We have a 7-day Chaos to Calm challenge. And it's simple, it's easy, and it gives you more nerve system tools, if you don't have enough already, that you can implement. And I have even more tools coming soon. I am putting a huge focus into this year because it is so important, and it's at the root of almost all the chronic diseases that we are faced with. And so watch our social pages, watch our YouTube channel for more information on some of these tools that will be coming out later this year. So. All right, we can nourish our nerve system with food. We've talked about nutrient deficiencies. Magnesium is great. Healthy fats from olive oil, walnuts are really great. Adaptogens support our nerve system response, whether our stress is too high, and adaptogens bring it down so our body can adapt to the high stress, or we're facing a little bit of burnout and our cortisol is low, and those adaptogens need to bring it up. They help our body adapt to wherever our cortisol is at. And some really great ones are ashwagandha and rhodiola. Asparagus is really great. It's can boost your mood with folate. Beans can help reduce with tryptophan and B vitamins. Green tea has L-theanine. And those citrus fruits contain vitamin C, which can really support adrenal health. Movements for stress resiliency. Some great options is to incorporate some low intensity exercise if you're really feeling stressed and burnt out, to help calm the nerve system. So just going for a walk, strength training can help. And then some shaking it out. When we're in a stress response, to complete our stress response, we must do something physical. So it could be going for a walk, a run, some strength training, a workout, or it could be just shaking. I just take my hands and I just shake them. Maybe you want to shake your whole body and really get into it. Turn on some music and dance and have some fun. Laughter is really healing for our stress response. But anything physical can complete the stress cycle and leave you feeling amazing. Sleep. Sleep is often something we compromise. We put a lot into our days and we leave ourselves often with not enough sleep. And sleep is like hitting the save button on your health. Every night, your body repairs cells, resets hormones, and processes emotions from the day. But if you don't get enough sleep, it's like losing an unsaved document. You forgot to hit save, and sorry, it's gone. Your body doesn't get the chance to restore itself properly, and you wake up feeling scattered, groggy, anxious, angry, frustrated. So tonight, let's focus on ways to save your progress by creating a sleep routine that allows your nerve system, that allows your brain to recharge. Some brief tips are blue light blocking. So if you have to be on a screen, some blue light blocking glasses, but ideally No screen time of any kind, TV, phone, tablet, an hour before bed. Magnesium, calming herbs like chamomile and passion flower. I love a good sleepy time tea at night, and setting up a bedtime routine that can help you wind down. If you've ever had young kids, you know how important bedtime routines can be and how they thrive in them. And as adults, that never actually left us. We just often leave it for other adult tasks that we're trying to get done. So making that bedtime routine of maybe after the kids are in bed, if you've got kids at home, if not, you're reading a book and you're doing things that intentionally help you wind down, again, that don't involve screens. So you can help tell your brain, hey, let's slow down and let's get ready for bed. We do have a master class available on YouTube around sleep. So if you need more tips, you can check that out. All right, and then another one I have to throw in there as a chiropractor. Obviously, I know that the spine is the communication highway between your brain and your body. It's how your brain communicates with the rest of your body. And misalignments, or what I call subluxations, create interference in the nerve system. It's kind of like a traffic jam where I had a 4-lane highway going from my brain to my body. And now we put up traffic cones and I took 4 lanes down to 1. Yes, those messages will get through, but it is far more stressful and my body is going to struggle and really struggle a lot more. So adjustments can help reduce the tension in the nervous system, allowing your body to shift out of that stress, fight or flight, and into that brake pedal. I commonly see people improving their sleep, their digestion, their hormone balance. It activates the vagus nerve, which is that brake pedal for the body. When we remove any interference that's coming from the physical bones in the spine. So I highly encourage you, if you don't have a chiropractor, to reach out to one near you. All right, and lastly, our last thing for our nerve system is let's create your daily nerve system ritual. I've given you lots of tools, and I invite you to now intentionally create moments in your day that engage your brake pedal, that strengthen it, and help it be more active. So an example could be on a Monday morning, I get my chiropractic adjustment, I do some deep breathing, and I have a nourishing breakfast full of protein and fiber and not a ton of carbs or sugar. And then over my lunch, I do a short walk outside, I hydrate, and I do 2 minutes of EFT tapping or some other breathing exercise. And then in the evening, I take my magnesium, I put away my screens for wind down time, and I do a little gratitude journaling before I go to bed. Simple tools that truly all of that could take you 3 minutes. We can really make it short, or you can make it longer. Whatever time you've got, let's make it something that's doable, that you can truly incorporate into your day. So I want you to write down your top 2 nerve system supporting habits that you're willing to commit to, that you're willing to start, because consistency is key. It's better to do 1 or 2 consistently than to try to tackle all of them and then you're only successful for about a week. All right. Now, all that was step 1. That's a big step. So now, step 2, we're going to nourish with key nutrients. That magnesium, our anti-stress mineral, our B vitamins for energy and brain, liver health, and our omega-3s to support brain health, mood, and reduce our inflammation. Step 3 is supporting hormones. We're going to focus on blood sugar balance. That helps with our mood balance. Easy swaps of protein and healthy fats at breakfast so we don't get those afternoon crashes. Considering eliminating or reducing caffeine and alcohol. If you can't give up that cup of coffee in the morning or that caffeine of any sort, could you drink it after you eat so it's not on an empty stomach? And ideally, it's not the first thing you drink when you wake up. This will help heal that stress response and keep that cortisol from shooting sky high when we drink that cup of coffee on an empty stomach. We want to optimize sleep. Try to make that 7 to 9 hours a non-negotiable time. You schedule it on your schedule, like you schedule a dentist appointment or your chiropractic appointment. Creating that evening wind down routine that we talked about. Get rid of the screens, drink some warm sleepy time routine, do a little journaling, a little reading, and then you head to bed. You can check out our hormone and sleep masterclass on YouTube for more tips around supporting hormones. Step 4 is healing your gut. Your gut is your second brain, so we really need to feed it well. Avoiding gut irritants of sugar, processed foods, alcohol, caffeine, and adding in gut-loving foods such as fermented foods, vegetables of all colors and varieties, eating the colors of the rainbow, as well as bone broth are wonderful. Again, you can reference that gut health masterclass for more tips. All right, and step 5, our last step, is rethinking stress. Some options, stress is inevitable. It is part of our world, but can we do something about it? Our response is in our control. So daily movement, we've got to complete that stress cycle. A 10-minute walk, especially if it's outside, can really help. You can't be outside, do it inside. Walk in place. Anything you can do is better than nothing. Social connection, laughter is amazing and can support and buffer stress. This can be especially important if you work from home or you work in front of a computer. Scheduling time with people can be really important and really healing. Some mindset shifts for emotional resilience can be reframing your thoughts. I use this one a lot. I despise the dishwasher. I mean, I love having it. It's an incredibly great thing. I'm very blessed to have a dishwasher. I grew up without one, but oh, I feel like I'm constantly loading and unloading the dishwasher all day long. It's insane and it drives me a little crazy. And so I try every time I'm there, I try to refocus and reframe my thoughts to, I don't have to load this dishwasher, I get to. Because if I don't get to, that means I have to wash with my hand, and that's even worse and even more stressful. So I can try to turn this into a blessing versus a frustration. So journaling, I love journaling. I love pen and paper, but you can type if you want to and just write it all down, just brain dump it out. And creating bodily safety, signaling your nervous system by using your body can be really helpful, whether it's shaking, like we said before, or it's just putting your hands over your chest, putting a little downward pressure, taking some deep breaths, and letting your body know it's okay. Weighted blankets can be super helpful for this, where you can get your whole body and it kind of just gives you a little bit of a hug. And so a weighted blanket can be a really great tool to create that bodily safety. So, all right, let's bring it all together. I am almost done here, so stick with me if you can. It's important to understand that your body isn't broken. It is just trying to talk to you, and it's trying to tell you what it needs for the right support. So let's get used to listening to it and trying to decipher it versus just suppressing those symptoms. Small changes are what leads to long-term success for everyone. So starting with the one thing, pick one thing from today. So if there are any questions hanging out there, I would love to hear them. If you don't have any questions, I would love to just have you write in the chat what your one takeaway is from today. You can unmute yourself too, if you would, if that's easier than typing into the chat too. Working on sleep routine. Yes, I love that. It is often one we kind of shove off to the side relatively quickly, but really, really powerful. So our brain can heal. Sleep is very, very powerful. It's that save button. So anyone else? I'd love to hear what you're taking away from today. Absolutely. Magnesium supplements. Wonderful. I love magnesium supplements. So they can be really helpful. Good. Anyone else want to share? All right. Let's wrap it up with next steps. Where do we go from here? I have several options for you today. The first is a free Nourish Your Nerve System guide. This is helpful and it kind of summarizes our class together today and gives you these action steps that then you can take with you. And Alicia is going to drop that into the chat for you. Our next masterclass next week is on perimenopause. So whether you're in that age range of 35 to 50 or not, please, I invite you to join me. It's often really helpful to know either what's coming or what you've already gone through if you're not in it. And I'm going to share some things that might really surprise you. So I'm really excited about that one. Then I want to offer some support. If you're feeling overwhelmed with where to start, maybe you've been watching our master classes and it's all great information, but you're still struggling with your one thing. I encourage you to book a free health solutions call with me, where we sit down and for 30 minutes, we're just going to talk about what are some of your symptoms? What are you struggling with? What are your goals? Where do you want to go versus where you're at? And what does one-on-one support look like? And are we a good fit to work together? And from there, you're left with some options of what to do and where to go. If you're not quite ready for that step, but yet you want to take some sort of step other than what we've shared, we also have a new 21-day mood boost challenge. I'm super excited about this one. It is for 3 weeks, 21 days. It includes recipes to support your mood, your hormones, your brain health, along with easy tips for you to implement each week. It's good. The challenge is regularly $49, but as a gift for being with me today, for attending this masterclass, you can use the coupon code MOODBOOST, all in caps, and that will save you $28, bringing it down to the cost of $21 or just $1 a day. So that's a really great option as well. This is a great way to dip your toes into the world of functional medicine a little bit and get a taste of how I work with women and getting real results. So, all right. Thank you so much for hanging with me. I know we went over just a little bit. My contact information is here. If you want to reach out, please feel free. I would love to hear from you. We have our social pages, Instagram and Facebook, wherever you're at. Please like us or follow us, like posts, share posts, whatever you feel led to do. I would love to see you over there as well. We try to put out a lot of good information on there that continues to bring value and to support you. And if you are ready to feel your best, don't forget to take that one action step starting today. So thank you so much for joining me. Please be well. Bye, everybody.